MECE stands for Mutually Exclusive, Collectively Exhaustive Framework. This framework is extremely helpful, I would say, in all of your life. I don't want to exaggerate in this, but if you think about it, and it's going to become very clear as soon as we go into details about this, it's very useful during your interviews, and it's extremely useful when you meet the client and when you work very, very closely to the client, when you speak with a client. And in general, I'm gonna say it's very useful in your life. I mean, both in your everyday life and in your career if you decide after a certain amount of time to leave consulting. But what is this MECE framework? This is a framework which is used to solve complex problems. And it helps you yourself and the people you're working with, the interviewer or the client or the person you're speaking to make sure that the problem is easily solved by making sure, and this is when we try to understand the words, mutually exclusive. So this means that when you basically solve a problem, that no overlaps are made. And collectively exhaustive means that it's very important to include every important option to the case. Let's make an example from my experience at McKinsey, so that this theory is a little bit more, it's a little bit clearer. So basically, I was working with one of the most important Italian banks, and this bank was suffering from a problem of profitability. So I remember at the kickoff of basically this engagement, this project, the client asked our team, the McKinsey team, what are my options to increase my profitability, or what should I do to become competitive in the industry again? And this is where basically the MECE framework steps in, because we tried to make a list of options which were with no overlaps, so no two options were overlapping, and trying to cover the whole spectrum of options available. And this is very, in a certain way, simple case of applying MECE, but it's basically just that. So it's not rocket science. And but yeah, let's move ahead, and I will show you a visual example, which I think is even clearer to understand this. So we said that MECE means mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. Let's focus first on the mutually exclusive. So you see that we try to represent this concept very visually by using 3 circles. Mutually exclusive means that no 2 circles overlap, and it's simply just that. So you have the blue circle, the red circle, the green circle, and no overlaps exist between the 3 of them. Collectively exhaustive means exactly what I told you before, so that we try to cover the whole spectrum of options available, of space available. So you see, in this case, the spectrum is composed by 3 elements, 3 options, A, B, C. And basically, you immediately see that in the rectangle below, to the right bottom of your screen, you see that option B is missing. So this is not a MECE framework. And by the same token, if you look at again, just going back a bit, at the left corner, bottom corner, you see that the 3 circles overlap, so it's not mutually exclusive. So it's very important that when you basically ask, when you ask to solve a case, you make sure that, or what case or problem or whatever, you're gonna make sure that you are not overlapping and that you're covering all of your options available. But again, why is it important? It's important because it helps interviewees and consultants in general to identify the key points to get to an answer. And it avoids boiling the ocean. So I strongly advise you guys to remember this expression, boiling the ocean, because it's an expression that consultants love indeed. And basically it means to avoid trying to do something which is very, very hard. It's impossible. Think about it. boiling the ocean is basically impossible, right? So try to just focus on what you need to solve the case, especially when time is limited. So during an interview, you cannot, speak too much because time is limited. During a client meeting, the client is super busy usually, so you cannot um, basically consume too much of his time. The client wants an answer now. The interviewer wants an answer now. So don't boil the ocean. But also, it's about also efficiency. Think about the mutually exclusive. If you avoid overlapping, this means that you are not going to work two times or twice on the same thing. So make sure that your workload is not duplicated. Again, in the interest of time, yours, of the interviewer, and of the client. And then the exhaustive part, collectively exhaustive part, make sure that you cover everything which is necessary. Again, just I will just again make a link with the practical part of my experience. In real life, it's very, very difficult to be perfectly MECE. This means that, of course, you have to be MECE, but it's very difficult that because of, the topic, which is not always like how to increase the profits or the revenues, which, it's quite, in the end, to a certain extent, straightforward. It could be more difficult. So it's not always possible to be MECE, perfectly MECE, but you should try, guys, to aim to be MECE enough, especially in interviews. So again, when you're being interviewed, and I had the chance to basically do many interviews, also for other companies in the strategy consulting domain, from Mckinsey. Then I decided to go to Mckinsey, but still, I got some offers. And the pattern I saw throughout these interviews was that the interviewer is not interested in making sure that you cover the whole spectrum of options. The interviewer is very interested in making sure that you know what is MECE, that you know how to apply it, and even if you don't get to the perfect answer, which means the 100% MECE, it's very important that you show that you know the steps to get to that, but maybe because of time, or maybe because it's not a topic that you're very familiar with, it's still very important that you get to the MECE enough conclusion. So overlap or missing information can happen, but you should try to make sure that you show your interviewer of a client that you are MECE. So let's make a practical example. So during the interviews, a very hot topic is to work to segment population. And there are different variables you can segment population by. And in this case, we decided to segment population by age. And we want to show you guys how to be MECE vis-a-vis how not to be MECE, basically. So we are presenting the two options. In the first, so the one to the left, a framework, the MECE framework, you can easily see that in a spectrum of population that in the interest of clarity, we decided to consider from 0 to 100 years old. We immediately see that every person here is included. So the exhaustive part is covered, and that every person belongs to only one group, so no overlapping exists. So this is consistent, guys, with a framework of a MECE. The non-MECE part, the non-MECE framework, you can immediately see that not all people are included. So it's not exhaustive, and we see that people from 70 to 100 years old are not included. And it's not even exclusive, because you can see that people belonging, I would say, from the 40 years old to 50 years old happen to belong to the two groups. So again, this is not MECE. So this segmentation is not done consistently with MECE framework and will not work both during an interview and in real life.